Good day everybody, Les Bobick with John Deere here, and what we're going to cover in this video today is setting up your John Deere C-Series cart for a crop change. So making sure that we have the cart and the documentation properly set up for the seed or fertilizer that you're going to be applying. So we have our C650 cart here, and what we're going to do is, let's say now that we're going to start seeding some canola out of the mini tank on the cart. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we can get into that cart homepage so we can go into the meter setup. So you see right now we can see our blockage, our P576 as well as the cart, but I want to go to that dedicated cart page, so I just scroll on over. Here we have our cart page, and there is my meter setup tab. So I'm going to hit that tab, and you can see it brings us to our cart setup page. So what we're going to do here is making sure I have the tank setup tab selected, and we're going to make sure that we have the mini tank selected. Now, let's say that we're switching over and we're going to start seeding some canola out of that mini tank. So under my product here, I simply go in and make sure that I have canola selected. All right. Now it'll ask us the canola type there as a reference if we want. And then the next thing it's going to ask us is our VR step, or our variable rate step. And what that means is from the main cart run page, if I want to increase or temporarily decrease my seeding or product application rate, I can choose how much that rate will change with each touch of the button. So since we're working with canola here, at a rate of 5 pounds per acre, I maybe want to only go at about 1/10 of a pound change. Last but not least, it's going to ask us what meter roller that we're going to be using. So when we look at our meter roller selection list here, if I'm putting on an application rate of 2 to 20 pounds per acre, I'll use the yellow, or if I'm dealing with very small seeds. Black is going to give me application rates from 20 all the way up to 130 pounds per acre. Green will get me from 30 all the way up to 220 pounds per acre. I'll use the blue if I'm applying rates from 50 to 265 pounds per acre. And then last but not least, I have the orange, where that if I'm working with very large seeds on a section command equipped cart, so for example, if I was working with Kabuli chickpeas, for instance, I would be using the orange. But since we're using the yellow roller here, we're working with canola, let's make sure we have the yellow selected. Then you can see here we have our MDV. That's our meter displacement value. So that's essentially how many pounds of product are going to be coming out with each revolution of the roller that we're putting on there, or think of it as your calibration value. If I go to the next page here, I can see that I can use the standard MDV or the current one, and that's going to be displayed where that if we have one that we made up during a meter calibration, whether it be a stationary cal or an active cal that we'll talk about at a later time here. Well, we're going to start off with just the standard cal there, and I hit enter save, and now I have that loaded in. So we now have our mini tank set up for seeding canola. So now we want to make sure that we do is that we cycle the key power. And what that's going to do is tell the documentation side of things what type of product we're going to be working with here. So we'll pretend that we've done that key cycle, and then once we have that key cycle completed, we need to go into our work setup so that make sure that we have the documentation side of things properly done there. As you can see right now, it still thinks that we're doing durum wheat. So if I go into the work setup, so in the lower left tab here, you can see that here's my rear, middle, front, and there's my mini tank. So I want to make sure we tell that mini tank that we are going to be working with canola. So we just go in and touch it, select it, and we can see that the type is planting and seeding, so that is correct. Now the crop, I'm going to go in and simply select my canola. And if the crop type is not shown here, I can simply just go into all crop types that I brought over in a setup file, and I can scroll through and find it. Okay. But I'm just going to make sure here we go and select our canola, click OK. And if we have different canola varieties loaded, we do have the ability here to select them. So I could just simply touch here, and if I do have some different canola varieties loaded, I can select it. If it wasn't loaded by my setup file, maybe I had a late change there, I can simply go in and add variety if needed. But L345PC is the canola we have. I'll click OK, and then I'll click OK once again. And so what we'll see here in our coverage maps, our canola maps will be shown in brown. Okay. Last but not least, if I'm going to be using a fixed rate, I would be choosing controller rate, or if I have a map-based prescription that I'll be using, I can simply here touch controller rate, and if I click on RX, and if there was a prescription loaded up onto the machine, that's where we can load up that prescription. But we're going to stick with our fixed controller rate for now. Okay, so I'll X that out, make sure that the operations for the other tanks are properly selected. Then we simply click on OK. And you can see now my application map is indeed showing we have canola, and we have canola selected for our meter type here. So that is how we select the proper crop type for both our cart and for our documentation. Thank you.